Welcome, guys. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Yeah, and today we're going to be reacting to Mr. Nightmare. This one's called Four True Horrific Christmas Horror Stories by none other than Mr. Nightmare himself. Yeah, I can't wait. This will probably be my last video, so yeah, just just letting everyone know. And a happy and a Merry Christmas to you all and a Happy New Year. New Year's Eve. Happy New Year. Yeah, probably stuffed up, but that's okay. But I can't wait. I can't wait for this year to be over. I hope everyone has a great Christmas. I hope I have a great Christmas too. I hope everyone has a great Christmas. Get all those good presents. Be good on the list. If there's some kid followers on this channel, be good on the list. You know, because once you get older, you don't get presents when you're an adult. You only get limited presents. So be good. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. Got my Christmas hat, so I'm very happy about that. I can't wait for this. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, please subscribe, turn notification, and click the bell beside you. Anyway, let's jump right into it, shall we? Yeah. I can't wait for this. Christmas hat. This one's very tight, this Christmas hat. I got it from my housemate. It was just sitting on his computer chair. So I figured I would wear this, but it's really tight, so I don't think it fits my big old head. So yeah, can't wait for this. Let's jump right into this. Pretty sure Miss Nightmare needs subtitles. Oh,
My name is Gregory. This happened last December when I was home alone in my house for a whole week. My girlfriend had gone to stay with her parents for the holidays, and I stayed behind because of work. I live in a quiet neighborhood in a small town in upstate New York. The houses are pretty spaced out, and most of the people on my block go away for Christmas, so I basically had the whole street to myself. At first, I liked the idea of the peace and quiet. I thought I would get a lot of rest and maybe catch up on some shows and just enjoy the coziness of the holidays for a bit. But what happened that week still lives rent-free in my head. It was on my second night alone. It was around 6:30 and already completely dark outside. It had been snowing lightly all day. There was a white layer on my yard and driveway. I was in the kitchen making a simple dinner, just pasta and chicken. Usually my girlfriend is the one to cook our meals. I'm not much of a chef. I turned on the TV in the background to make the house feel less empty, because as happy as I was to have the place to myself for a bit, I wasn't used to it being so empty and quiet in here. Something unusual. It really took me a second to figure out what it was. It sounded like singing. I muted the TV and listened. The sound
um,
would
your video sounds like someone is screaming. It doesn't sound like singing. I was like, la 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 la. Maybe they can't do it because copyright. It sounds like screaming, like neighbors yelling outside. I don't know, just sound like that.
was definitely coming from outside. The singing got a little clearer, and I realized the person was singing Jingle Bells. At first, I thought maybe some neighborhood kids were playing around outside, but the voice didn't sound like a kid. It sounded like a grown man. I got up and walked toward the front door because that seemed like the direction it was coming from. The closer I got, the louder it got. By the time I reached the door, it sounded like the singing was coming from right on my front stoop.
That's
I felt a
disturbing.
weird feeling in my stomach, but at that moment, I still thought maybe it was just a caroler.
And I'd call the police. You need to find the real Santa. Just saying. I feel like I should just say what I'm about to say, but I know I've got children on this YouTube channel. Kids, just pause this video for like 5 seconds or something. I just want to say Santa Claus is scary. Santa Claus is scary, and I don't know. I always think that Santa Claus sitting on your lap, that's just sus to me. That's just like, I don't know, like underage susness. I don't even know if that's a word, but whatever, it's a word. If I had Santa Claus at my front door, or I had some type of thing at my front door, and they're singing to me, and they haven't even knocked at my front door yet, I would be calling the police. I wouldn't be just standing around waiting for it to go away. You know, because I freak out of those things. I feel like everyone in that situation would, and I feel like even though it's not an ideal threat, you haven't threatened me, or I don't feel like I'm in danger. I don't feel comfortable in my own home. I might not be in danger, but I'm not comfortable. So that's why I feel like you just never know. Or I would call someone. I wouldn't be standing there waiting for it to go away. That's all I gotta say. 'Cause you don't know what creep is lurking behind that door.
I opened the door, and standing in the glow of my porch light was a man around 35 years old. He wore no hat, and his coat looked too thin for the weather. But the strangest thing was that he was completely focused on singing Jingle Bells, staring down at my welcome mat like he wasn't even aware I opened the door. I remember forcing a little smile because I didn't really know what else to do. I'd never gotten Christmas carolers before, but even still, I never heard of a grown man doing it solo. It's supposed to be a group thing from what I know. He didn't look dangerous. He actually just looked sort of confused or maybe slow. I even wondered if he was special needs or something because he didn't react to me being there. He just kept singing. When he finished the song, I expected him to say something, or at least leave, but he just took a breath and started singing Jingle Bells all over again from the beginning, the same slow off-key tone. But now he was looking up at me, making direct eye contact. I felt my smile drop because it was just weird now. I stood there another minute, pretending to listen, even though it felt uncomfortable. I kept thinking he would stop after the second run, but he didn't. He just looped the song. I
Of
checked my
course.
phone and realized almost 4 minutes had passed while he sang Jingle Bells over and over. Finally, I decided it was enough. I told him thank you in a polite tone, and I slowly closed the door. I thought that would send him on his way, but once the door was closed, I still heard the singing. It continued without even slowing down. I walked back to the table and sat down, trying to ignore it, but the longer it went on, the harder it was to ignore. The man didn't seem normal, and it bothered me that he was still right outside my door singing the same song. I wondered if maybe he was special needs and someone was out there with him, like by the street or something, but I didn't see anyone else out there. It made the whole house feel uncomfortable, like someone weird was standing too close to my personal space.
That can feel a little nerve wracking sometimes. Because I feel like even in this situation, in this scenario, would I have probably called, probably shouldn't call the police, but I would definitely call someone to be like, hey, like a friend or something, hey, I don't feel comfortable. There's some kid or some 35-year-old grown ass man at my door. I don't know if he's special needs, or I don't know like what he's doing, but can you come over to my house because I don't feel comfortable in my or something. I don't know if I'd call the police because I don't know if it's like life threatening, but like again, I wouldn't be sitting down. That's just me. If I heard someone at my door singing or at my window, at my window singing that, I wouldn't be. I'd be stopping this recording and I'd be calling someone. I'd be really freaked out, you know. Just saying.
I kept eating,
Have a
but I
lot of
couldn't focus on the
patience,
food.
this person does.
It went on for my entire dinner.
Jeez.
Finally, after about 10 minutes straight, the singing stopped. The sudden silence actually made me jump because I had gotten used to the singing. I got up slowly and walked back to the front door window.
He's
When
gonna
I
be
looked
there.
outside, I expected to see the man gone, but he was still there. He had moved. Now he was standing at the end of my driveway. He was just facing my house, completely still. He was no longer singing. At least I couldn't hear anything from here. He was just standing there in the snow, staring at the door. Something about that felt worse than the singing. He looked like he was waiting. I opened the door a crack and told him he couldn't be here, that this was private property and he needed to leave. He didn't move at all. The whole thing was so unnatural. I finally told him that if he didn't leave, I would call the police. Then I shut the door again. I watched him for another minute from the window, but he didn't budge. I didn't want to actually call the cops because I thought maybe there was something mentally wrong with him and I didn't want to make things worse. So instead, I decided to just go upstairs, lock my bedroom door, and try to relax. I checked out the window upstairs before changing into bedclothes. Man was gone from the driveway. Thank God. I figured the threat worked. I got into bed, turned on a lamp, and started reading my book to wind down. Maybe 20 minutes went by when I heard something from behind the house. I knew instantly what it was, unfortunately. It was the same man singing Jingle Bells again, except now it was coming from my backyard. I jumped out of bed and went to the back window. When I looked down, not only was he directly inside of my backyard, he was already looking up at my window. The man was in my backyard standing in the snow directly below my bedroom window.
I'd call the police now. I feel like at this stage, you don't feel safe. You don't feel safe because he's in your backyard. Yeah.
He was looking straight up at me while he sang. I slid open the window and yelled at him that I was calling the police.
Yep.
The singing stopped instantly. He stood there in total silence for about 3 seconds. Then, he suddenly burst into a full sprint toward the back door on the lower level. The second he was out of my view, I heard the most insane sound I've ever heard in my life. He started screaming at the top of his lungs, not like a normal scream. It sounded like a death metal singer, but even more insane and deranged. It echoed across the yard and through the entire
Jeez.
house. Then came the banging. The back door shook violently.
This
Kicked
is
it, slammed
disturbing.
into it, and probably tried ripping the doorknob off. I felt the vibrations from the
Hell
impacts
no.
in my upstairs bedroom. I realized this guy wasn't just weird. He was trying to get inside. I grabbed my phone and called 911 right away.
Oh, no shit. You calling them now?
The man was trying to break in. I stayed on the line while holding a baseball bat with my other hand. I backed into my bedroom
So,
closet
as soon as
and
I
shut
saw them
myself
in
in.
my backyard, I would have
The
called them.
operator told me to stay hidden. I could still hear the screams and bangs from downstairs, and every second felt like he was going to break through. Then, just as suddenly as they started, bangs stopped. Everything went silent except for my breathing. I didn't know if he left or if he got inside. I stayed completely still in the closet until the police arrived. They checked the entire outside of the house and confirmed the back door was still locked. The operator said I could come out and meet them. I stepped outside to greet them. I finally felt like I could breathe again. We walked around the backyard and saw deep footprints in the snow, showing exactly where he had stood while singing to me through the window and where he had run up to the back door. The footprints then led off into the woods behind my property. The cops went to follow the trail a little bit, but came
Of course,
back
you have
because it
woods in
apparently
front of
wasn't
your
worth going
property.
deep into the woods at night. They acted like it wasn't a big deal. They told me people act strange all the time, and that as long as I kept my doors locked, I should
I
be
don't know if
fine.
this is a real story because he has woods outside.
And that bothered me a lot, but I was too shaken up to argue. After they left, the house felt horribly empty and cold. We kept every door and window locked and double-checked them over and over. At that point, I was over the alone time and just wanted my girlfriend back home. I went down to my parents' place for Christmas Eve and Christmas, thankfully. As far as that man, he never returned. At least, not that I know of.
Dun dun dun! That was scary. I'd give that one a solid 7.5 out of 10. It was scary. Not the scariest story that we watched, but scary. Maybe a 7. It wasn't as scary.
This story is about my Christmas experience from about 10 years ago. I was 6 years old. Since my birthday
It's
was in
gonna be
November,
scary.
I had just finished celebrating. Now we were getting ready for the holiday. My birthday celebration happened on the same day as the famous Odell Beckham Jr. catch. I lived with Cowboys fans, but I was a Giants fan. I remember it being talked about for the rest of the night, and even during my birthday celebration. Only 6. I didn't understand football, but I understood that the catch was crazy, so I was just living in the moment and happy it was my birthday, my first NBA game. Christmas Day was 5 days before. I got a brand new Odell Beckham Jr. jersey and a Mavericks shirt and sweatshirt as I was becoming a sports fan. I had a great Christmas. One of my Christmas gifts was another Mavs game, which was on December 27th against the Oklahoma City Thunder. I was so excited to go to both games. The day came and we went to the game. The Mavs won a close one, something like 112 to 105.
Yeah, yeah.
It was cool to go back to that amazing stadium and atmosphere. This time we went again. I didn't know it would be the last time I went for years. At the last game, we had nice seats, like 7 rows from the court and in the middle. But this time, we were maybe row 20 and in a corner area, so the experience was different. The game was going well. I was enjoying it. The Mavs were killing them by like 20 to 30 points at halftime. Since I was a child, I wanted to roam around and get food and go to the bathroom by myself. But I was with my parents and only 6 years old. So my parents and I walked to get some food. We waited in line for maybe 20 minutes. My dad went to another restaurant inside the arena to get different food, and I stayed with my brother, who was waiting in line to pay. As we talked to the worker, I walked away to throw out some of the candy they bought me before the game. I walked to a trash can maybe 30 feet away. As I got there, this tall white man came up to me and asked, "Hey, are you lost?" I shook my head and didn't say anything. He said he didn't see my parents around and told me, "Let's go look," as he grabbed my hand and walked with me. I was just a kid, so I walked with him. He took me toward the nosebleeds and said we were going to the intercom so they could announce my name and find my parents.
Nope.
I said okay and kept walking. Got to the top, waited for about 10 minutes. He waited until the coast was clear, and then tried pushing me towards the emergency stairs or elevator. I don't remember exactly, but I do remember there was no one around. Then I remembered stranger danger, and the guilt and fear started sinking in. I realized I shouldn't go with this man. He didn't have any credentials. When he let go of my hand to go check his phone, I ran all the way back to the stands.
Smart kid. This kid's very smart. I mean, obviously, he shouldn't have gone with the man anyway to begin with, but that man's kind of dumb too, because why would you let go if you want to try and kidnap this kid? Maybe you thought just stay with him. But the kid was very smart about that. Just saying.
As I ran, I saw him standing there with a small grin on his face. I couldn't find my parents, but I didn't care. I just wanted to be somewhere safe. I found my brother, who hadn't told my parents he lost me because he didn't want to get in trouble. He asked if I was okay, and I said yes, choosing not to say anything. The game ended and the Mavs won, but I didn't care. I just wanted to go home. As we exited, I was quiet. When we got in the car, I was also quiet. My parents seemed confused that I didn't seem energetic, but I told them I was tired. As we drove home, I almost fell asleep. Then a loud honk screeched behind us. It was so loud I almost screamed. I turned around. There he was. The same man driving a truck with maybe 3 other men inside. I couldn't tell who they were, just silhouettes. My parents yelled at them from our car when they pulled up next to us, but the men just stared.
That's
I wanted
scary.
to say something.
That's scary. Some men just honking their horns while they're right in front of you like that. They're like, beep, beep. I'd be out of there. Like, can you imagine I looking out the window, there's just 3 men just staring at. So I pulled up right near my house instead of going, beep, beep. I had a really scary dream. I gotta tell you, I had a really scary dream one time when I was like 4 years old, right? And I've had dreams where they've come to life, It sounds the most stupid thing. I don't know if anyone's had that, but I certainly have. Like a deja vu premonition. I don't know what it is, but and I'm being legit. Like there was one time I dreamt about this van that pulled up across our street with three guys in black outfits, black suits, black everything, and one of them had a gun in his hand, and this was in the dream, and the other one was staring, and then they look up at me, and then they chase, and they start chasing, going into my window, and breaking into my house, and trying to kill us. I don't know if I got killed or anyone got killed in the drink, but yeah, that was scary. And then not long after, a few days later, I don't know if it was the next day, but a few days later, a van popped up, which was the same colored van. It was like a it was like a white van. It was the same van, same brand, same size, and it was three black hooded people. But none of them had guns, and one of them did look up at me and then looked away and then just walked off, like, and just mind their own business. But I was so scared. I'm like, and it was the same man. It was the same guy. He looked slightly different, but he looked the same in a way. And I was like, holy crap! I think I was like 4 years old when I had that dream. So, so this story is kind of giving me a bit of paranoia because I've had a similar experience. Not maybe a car side by side, but I've looked out a window and there's been three hooded guys in a van, and it's come to life. Thank God they didn't actually kill us. They didn't. They just minded their own business and went the other way. But still, just saying, absolutely terrifying.
So badly, but for some reason I didn't. When we got home, I went right to sleep and passed out fast. In the middle of the night, I woke up with chills. I noticed a light flashing at my window. I looked out, expecting something innocent, Santa Claus or something, but instead saw that man standing out there, shining a flashlight into my bedroom window.
Hell no! This is another nightmare I had where someone was standing at my window. Like, oh hell no, no! My heart would have just stopped. It would have just stopped. I would have just stopped breathing. This kid has got PTSD.
I screamed and ran to my parents' room,
No shit.
telling them someone was at my window as if it were a first-story window. They rushed outside and searched for maybe 20 minutes. They didn't find anything, and since I was a kid, they didn't believe me. They said it must have been a shadow from a car.
I hate those type of parents.
On New Year's
Why
Eve,
would they not?
days
This
later,
is people shouldn't have children. These people shouldn't have children. I'm sorry, but why would you not believe your own child? If I had a child, even if they said there's someone in my closet, I would believe them. I would say, don't freak out. I would obviously calm them down. And I'd say, if it happens again, go to my room and close the door and stay in my room, and I will check the closet myself. And if there's someone in there, you know, I'm out. You know, I'll call the police. I'm not going to not believe my child. Even if there's no evidence. Even if there was no evidence to back up that there was a person there. I just had to take their word for it. I'd still believe them. These are people that shouldn't have children. I'm just saying. This is why children get kidnapped. You know, that whole Madeleine McCann story. I'm just saying, I don't know. It's obviously not the same thing. She just happened to get kidnapped, I'm pretty sure. I need to read more into that. But, yeah. Why would they also, like, this is a similar story because they just left their child just going to the toilet. They should have took their child. It's only 6 years old. She was like 4 years old. She was like 4 years old, and she got she might have even been younger. She might have been even 3, and she got kidnapped because they were downstairs having a party, and apparently there was like, and they left 2 of their children upstairs. I think it was like a son or something. I can't remember. She had a brother or something, and they just took the daughter or so, or she had a sister. She had another sister. I can't remember, and they took her. They left 2 of their children in a hotel room. It wasn't even in their house. It was in another country. This is why people shouldn't have children. Just saying. There are consequences for your actions. Like, I feel bad for the parents, Obviously, my heart goes out to them, and I doubt they're going to find the child, but I'm just saying, like, if there was some miracle, I hope that they do find peace, and I hope they do find their child. And, I really hope, but, like, there's consequences for your actions. And this is why I wouldn't have children, because I would know I'd be a little neglectful.
We were staying up until midnight to watch the ball drop. We were about 5 or 6 minutes away from midnight when the doorbell rang. My parents answered it. I didn't pay attention until I heard the man's voice. I was 100% sure it was him. I told my parents, but they didn't believe me. I told them at the gate he brought me to the high
Shouldn't
level,
have children.
and I ran away and escaped. But they still didn't believe me. They said it was just a man handing out lost dog flyers for his cousin's dog. The night went on. I was fine. But then a year later, on New Year's Eve, there was a knock at my bedroom window. Keep in mind, I had forgotten about the
The way
situation.
Mr. Nightmare does that,
I got up and looked.
the way he just goes, that scared the shit out of me. The zoom in. It wasn't even the tap. The tap kind of got me a little because I was like, I didn't expect a tap. But the zoom in, and then the like, that scared me. Mr. Nightmare always gets me.
There was a piece of paper on the window that said, "This new year, you'll meet me again."
Hell no.
I gave my parents the note, filed a report, but they never heard anything back. Every couple of years, I get terrified of New Year's Eve, thinking that man will come back. I told my parents I never want to go back to an NBA game, saying it wasn't my thing. But now I'm 16, and it scares me that the man knows where I live. I'm considering going to the Cavs vs. Mavs game on January 2nd or 3rd, which would be my first game since then, but I'm not sure. This experience scared me away from basketball. It made me always close my curtains.
That was scary. I'd give that one like an 8.5, 9. I'd give that one like a 9 out of 10. That was scary.
I remember this night way too clearly, and even now I think about how close.
Actually, I give that story a 9.5. I'd give it a 9 if the parents believed him. I'd give it a 9.5 because the parents don't even believe him. It's insane. How can you be a parent? I'm not saying they're horrible parents. I'm just saying they're not very, they don't believe him, obviously.
Terrible. It was early December. We decided to drive up north into the mountains to cut down a real Christmas tree. It was something my wife Marianne and I always wanted to do. And our 7-year-old son Andrew was excited about it too. The weather was cold and cloudy. The sky had that heavy look where it feels like snow is always about to fall.
I love snow.
To us,
I really do.
For Andrew. I grabbed our flashlights and the axe that I planned to use to chop down a tree. We walked up the narrow path with snow crunching under our boots. Andrew kept running ahead, stopping to point at trees he thought might be perfect. The deeper we went, the more the road behind us disappeared, and the only light came from the faint moon glowing behind the thick clouds. It was so quiet that I even asked Marianne and Andrew to stop for a second, just to really take it in. There was not a single sound, maybe a light breeze, that was it. To be honest, if I had been there alone, I'd have been slightly creeped out just off the silence and darkness alone. As we walked deeper onto the trail, we had to utilize the flashlights we brought, all 3 of us. Andrew was having a lot of fun with the flashlight, until the light from the parking lot was no longer visible. It was now basically total darkness outside of the flashlights. He started to get a little nervous, evidently, because he asked how far we were going to go, and he made a comment on the darkness. I kept feeling like someone was watching us or like something was walking behind us, but every time I turned around, it was nothing but the empty snowpath. About 10 minutes in, we finally found a spot where the trees were tall and full. Andrew ran around them in circles, looking for the best one. Marianne stayed closer to me, whispered that she wanted to pick a tree fast because she had a weird feeling too. I got exactly what she meant. This was a lot creepier than I had imagined. Right then, I heard soft crunching behind us. It wasn't any of us, nor was it an animal. It sounded like boots crunching the snow, but very slowly, sneaking like. When I turned around, I saw a man in dark clothes, standing about 20 feet back on the path. He wasn't dressed for the weather. His hands were bare and red from the cold. His jacket looked more like a windbreaker. His face looked pale and stiff, like he'd been out in the cold for way too long. Marianne grabbed Andrew's arm to pull him closer. The man noticed we were looking at him. He suddenly smiled in an off-putting way and stepped closer. He asked if we were looking for a Christmas tree. His voice, breaking the already unsettling silence, was uncomfortable. His voice was deep and kind of soft. Before I could say anything, Andrew answered yes, excited again, and I felt a jolt of panic because I didn't want this man knowing anything about us. Marianne quickly told him no, that we were just walking. The man stepped closer again. The way he moved made every hair on my arm stand up.
I'd be out of there. I'd be out of there. Just saying. I wouldn't be there. I have chills just thinking about it.
Not to worry because he wasn't a park ranger. He said it like he could tell exactly why we lied, because admittedly, what we were doing was super illegal. I didn't want to talk to him at all. Something was wrong with him. He looked hungry or desperate or like he hadn't slept in days. I guess, for lack of a better word, he looked homeless. I told Marianne we should head back to the car. She nodded, gripping Andrew's jacket. When we started walking past the man, he stood by, smiling and watching, giving slight nods as if to say goodbye as we walked. Andrew kept turning around, asking if the man was following. We told him to stay facing forward. Every time I looked back, the man was a little bit closer than before, even though I didn't hear him speed up. I whispered to Marianne that when we reached the main road, we had to run to the car. She held Andrew's hand tighter and nodded without looking back. The man's steps stayed behind us the whole time, dragging a little like his boots were too big or too heavy. Once we got close enough to see the gap in the trees where the car was parked, I told them to go. Marianne lifted Andrew and ran as fast as she could. The only reason I felt even remotely safe was because of the axe in my hand. But I'm not a violent person, and I've never had to resort to violence in my entire life. I turned around to block the path behind us for even just a second. The man had stopped walking and was just staring at me. He put his hands up halfway, still smiling. And then he said,
Ooh.
I mean no harm.
Oh, hell no, no. I got paranoia. I probably mention it every single video. I swear, I probably mention paranoia every single bloody video. Everyone's gonna be like, Jack is paranoid. Every time I watch a Mr. Nightmare video, Jack always says, I'm paranoid. I'm like, yep, because I am. He said, I mean no harm. Maybe he thought because they're running away, he means no harm. But, like, why would you say that? Just say, see ya, I mean no harm, which means, in reverse psychology, it means you mean harm. Just saying, you obviously mean harm. Yeah.
To your truck now. I felt my heart skip a beat as he said this.
Yeah,
He
me
said
too.
truck, like he knew we came in a pickup truck. I replied back simply that we don't want any trouble. Then I turned and started hurrying back down to the lot. But halfway there, Marianne screams my name, sounding panicked. Oh no, I thought. When I got to the truck, she showed me that both right side tires were punctured. I didn't have time to examine it for long to realize it was him. I told Marianne to call 911 immediately, but she struggled to find service at first. She walked around the snowy lot for a bit until there was reception. She never strayed too far away. I had Andrew wait in the truck, who was now clearly concerned as he watched Marianne and I freaking out. He was old enough to know something bad was happening. Marianne seemed to be having a hard time on the phone, so I took it and explained our location and that we felt threatened by a random man in the woods who may have potentially been responsible for the tires. Given the potentially unstable individual in the vicinity, and the fact that we had a child with us,
That's
police were
scary.
taking this very seriously.
That's
They
very
told me to keep
scary.
my family locked in the truck until police arrive, and that a tow truck will be sent as well.
Yeah, if I was that kid, I'd freak out because kids sense everything. Like if you're freaking out, they're freaking out. If they're freaking out, you're freaking out. That's what I meant to say. So kids have it's like dogs. If you freak out, and cats and animals, if you freak out, they're gonna freak out. I don't know about cats. I think cats are pretty chilled, laid back. But dogs, you freak out, they freak out. Just saying. I know my housemate's dog does, because when we all freak out or act a bit like on the same side, it freaks out too. Just saying.
I was instructed to keep
This
the
is
operator on the line
terrifying.
while we waited.
This story is
Eventually, the
terrifying.
line started getting choppy, cutting out at moments because of the poor reception. Then, Marianne suddenly screamed in my ear to look and pointed towards the tree line by the path we were on. There were multiple people standing just beyond the tree line. I counted at least 3. They looked like shadows from where we were, which made the sight even more terrifying. It was like we were being stalked and hunted. Then 2 of the people started walking closer. I told the operator, and she said something that really made me uncomfortable. She asked if I had any kinds of weapons. When I said I had the axe, she implied that if it came down to it, to use it to defend my family. By this point, Andrew was crying, and Marianne tried to calm him down. I told the operator that 2 of the figures were still walking toward the truck. They weren't running or yelling or anything. They just walked very slowly, like they knew we weren't going anywhere. The third figure strangely disappeared, likely back deeper into the woods away from the light. The operator told me the police were close, but I had no idea if that meant 2 minutes or 10. I kept looking back and forth between the tree line and the road in the distance, praying to see flashing lights. I tried to talk to the operator again, but the call dropped. The second it cut off, everything felt 100 times worse. I locked the doors again, even though they were already locked. I kept my hand on the axe, gripping it so hard my knuckles hurt. As the 2 people were now within range of hearing them speak, you could hear them saying, "We're here to help," as they waved their hands in the air. We didn't recognize either of them to be that guy from earlier. "Do you think they're park rangers?" Marianne asked. And I said firmly, "Not a chance." But perhaps I said it too loud, because Andrew just started crying even more, which Marianne had to try extra hard to console him. These 2 people approaching were dressed similarly to that first guy, aka way underdressed, and their clothes looked worn out, almost dirty, and they didn't seem bothered by the cold at all. But then, seemingly randomly, the 2 of them turned around and started running back in the direction they had come from. We didn't know why just yet, but it was soon clear. Never have we been so ecstatic to hear the sound of police sirens. It was getting louder fast.
That's how you know.
Lights coming from down the road. Coming pretty fast, actually.
That's how you know they were in cahoots with that guy.
And it instantly shined in our direction. I flashed my lights to try to get the cop in the car to see the men running back into the woods. At this point, though, they were already nearly gone. But their footprints weren't. Once the SUV was next to us, 2 officers jumped out immediately with flashlights drawn, and I got out to basically get on my knees thanking them. I pointed in the direction the men ran. I said they disappeared into the trees like they had rehearsed where to go. The police told us to stay inside the truck while they searched, and more units showed up within minutes. 1 officer stayed with us. Andrew was no longer scared, but rather once again excited at the commotion and the sight of police officers. After a long search, the police came back and told us what I already knew they were going to say. They didn't find anyone, just tracks in the snow that went deep into the woods and eventually spread out in different directions. They didn't know if the people lived somewhere out there or if they were part of some kind of camp deeper in the mountains. They said sometimes drifters or squatters stay hidden in remote areas during the winter. The tow truck eventually arrived, and the police stayed around us the entire time until our truck was loaded up.
No.
We had to sit in the
That's
back of a patrol
scary.
car to stay
That's
warm while
scary.
they finished everything.
I feel
No
bad for
one
that
really said
kid.
much. Marianne held Andrew in her lap, and I just stared out the window, watching the dark tree lines, half expecting to see someone standing there again. On the ride back home, none of us talked. It was like all of us were afraid that saying anything out loud would make it real again. We didn't try to cut down a Christmas tree ever again. We didn't even go back to that mountain area. Even now, 10 years later, I refuse to go anywhere near it. To this day, what scares me the most is the thought that they had been watching us long before we even noticed them. They saw us arrive in that parking lot because they knew to strand us by slashing my tires, and they were waiting for us to go deep enough into the trees so we wouldn't make it back to the truck. We were lucky we trusted our instincts enough and decided to leave for the truck almost right away. We were also lucky I was holding an axe, which may have dissuaded them from doing something crazy. I don't like thinking about how close we came to potentially never going home.
You know what I think? And that's my honest opinion. They probably have been analysing you. They probably, because you've been doing it, you said this isn't the first time you've come and done this. So you've obviously, they knew it was, they planned it, they executed it. They knew you were going to do that before you even got into that situation. So by the time they, by the time you pulled up, they were already there because they probably planned it before that when you were there last time. And then by the time you got out of the car, they would have slashed your tires because they would have had to have known you were there. And the other guy was obviously stalling you guys, just so that you could get slashed, so they could slash your tires. And then they were onto you. Like, it's a conspiracy. They were all in on it. Just saying. That's scary. That is absolutely terrifying. Horrifying. Because this is horrific true Christmas horror stories. Horrific. They had to use horror like 2 times. Anyway. That was scary. I'd give that one probably like a 9 out of 10. Maybe a 9.5. Because that is pretty scary. It's about the same as the other one. Because the other one's pretty damn scary, too. I feel like this one you could kind of be like, I say they're about equally as scary. Because you can kind of you can believe each other. You know, you can back each other up that you've had the same experience. Where the other they don't believe you, like, and they know where you live. So these people don't. I'd give this like a 9. The other one pretty damn scary, especially if they're targeting a 6-year-old. Just saying. Anyway, last story for the year. Good old James.
That night, and since I was almost 9, they felt okay leaving me home for a little bit. My mom had to run to the grocery store to get some stuff for Christmas dinner, and my dad was working late like he usually did in December. I was sitting on the couch watching a Christmas movie probably, and eating cookies by the fireplace and tree. Outside, it was already dark, even though it was still relatively early, but I remember the Christmas lights flashing on the houses across the street. It was normal, until the doorbell rang. The only reason this made me stop and look was because it was rather late and random for someone to ring the bell, and my mom always told me never to answer the door when I was alone. My parents never ring the bell, obviously, since they have keys. I got up and walked to the door anyway because I wanted to look through the peephole. When I put my eye up to it, I saw there was a man standing on the porch wearing a Santa Claus suit. It was the full thing, too. The red coat, the hat, the beard, everything. But he didn't look like a normal, friendly Santa. He wasn't holding anything.
Also, doesn't Santa come down the chimney? For all of you, like, believers out there, kids out there, doesn't he come down the chimney? And can't he mysteriously open a door? Because he has a key. So why does he need to knock at the door? Just saying, obviously. But, you know, so that one ain't the real one. That one ain't the real one. You've done your duty, you checked the peephole, you don't need to open the door.
Looked like a clipboard. He was standing way too close to the door, like he was waiting for me to unlock it. I didn't know what to say at first, so I just kind of whispered, "Who is it?" The man moved his head a little closer to the door, like he was trying to see through the peephole.
Nah. I would have called my parent. Oh wait, maybe this is back in the day when you couldn't call your parents. But no, I'd go to my room. I'd lock myself in my room.
Better. And in that moment, he figured out right away that I was a kid. He did, I guess, what was his best Santa impression, as he said he was Santa and that he had gifts for me, and that I should open the door. At 9 years old, I wasn't stupid, and I didn't believe in Santa anymore. My parents taught me about strangers.
Okay, so you don't believe in Santa. No. Well then, get out of there. Go upstairs and hopefully it goes away. Or call your family or something. Or someone.
I told him to go away and that I didn't need anything. I tried to sound
This
brave,
is scary.
but my voice cracked. The man went silent for a second, and then he asked me if I was home alone.
Oh.
As soon as he said that, I knew to walk away. I instantly felt stupid for even letting him know I was home. I didn't answer him. I stepped back from the door and walked fast to the living room because I suddenly felt too scared to stand near it. I sat on the couch and grabbed a pillow and stared at the TV like acting normal would make the fear go away. But then I heard the doorknob twist. He was testing if the door was locked. I wanted to scream for help, but nobody was home. I waited and hoped he would leave. But a moment later, I heard another sound from the back of the house. It was the back doorknob twisting. It happened so fast after the front door that I bet he ran around the house to the back. That door was even weaker than the front one, and we almost never used it. I felt frozen in place, and all I could think about was that my house only had two doors, and this man was trying both. I ran to the kitchen and grabbed the phone and dialed my mom's number.
Oh, so you knew your mom's number anyway. I didn't know if you knew. I never knew my mom's number at night, but I'm stupid. No, I'm just saying. Smart. This kid's smart. I'll give him that. I would have just, I don't know, I would have just, called my family as soon as I saw the Santa outside. I would have just called my mum, say, there's a person, because you just wasted a lot of your time. You just wasted a lot. He's probably going to be gone by the time you get there. Hopefully not. Hopefully he gets arrested. Those cookies look very good in this picture. They look very good. Some good cookies. Yeah.
I started talking really fast.
Oh, I need to put my
trying not
Santa
to cry.
hat.
I told her someone was trying to get into the house and he was dressed like Santa. My mom got serious right away, told me she was coming home right now and that I should not open any doors no matter what.
Also, I feel bad for the other mum. Can you imagine if Santa knocked at the door, someone knocked at the door, and you called your parents in the other story that we just went through, the other story where they didn't believe he, their own child, their 6-year-old child. Can you imagine someone knocked at the door and they were like, stop pranking us. You'd be dead. That child'd be gone. Like, it'd be gone. I'm glad this mum is going straight home. That's scary.
Stay in the living room and keep the curtains closed. I sat on the floor behind the couch where I couldn't be seen from any windows, and I stayed completely still. I kept hearing small noises outside, like footsteps or light taps, just some forms of sounds indicating that someone was still there. Eventually, they stopped, and not long after, I heard a car pulling into our driveway, and I knew it was my mom because I recognized her squeaking brakes. I stayed where I was until I heard the front door unlock and slam open. My mom came in breathing hard and holding two grocery bags. She locked the door behind her and yelled out for me, and I ran to her right away. She hugged me and then told me she had just seen a man dressed as Santa walking down our street. She said she slowed her car down when she saw him, and she yelled at him out the window asking what he was doing. The man told her he was going door to door asking for donations, but she didn't believe him for a second. She said he looked nervous, and that he walked away fast when she started yelling. My mom told me she was proud of me for not opening the door and for calling her right away. She called the police and reported the man, and I'm sure police at the very least surveyed the area. We never found out if he was arrested or if he just disappeared into the neighborhood. 2 neighbors did say, though, that the man knocked on their doors asking for donations, though they said it seemed like a scam. Regardless, that doesn't change the fact that he tried to get into our house, where he knew a little boy was home alone. I still think about that night every year around Christmas when I see Santa decorations. I just remember being 9 years old and knowing that man on our porch was not Santa, that he wanted something else. I guess I was lucky the doors were locked and my mom got home when she did.
Mm-hmm.
What would have
Mom
happened
was
if
the
that
hero.
terrifying to think about?
Mom was the hero of that last story. Just saying. She was the hero. The hero of them all. Yeah. No, I'd give that one like an 8 out of 10. That was pretty scary. It wasn't as scary as the other 2 stories. I'd say it's probably scarier than the first story. But yeah, good on the mum. That story was pretty straightforward too. It wasn't stupid. Like some of the other stories we've reacted to on this channel. So yeah. Yeah. They were scary. Scary as. Yeah! That was my reaction to 4 horrific true Christmas horror stories by none other than Mr. Nightmare himself. Yeah! They were absolutely scary. Just saying. That second one where they didn't believe their own child, they shouldn't have children. They in that point blank period. I'm gonna say I don't care about controversy. Like, screw controversy. They shouldn't have children. Point blank period. I'm not saying they're horrible parents, but they obviously don't care about their child's safety. Otherwise, they'd be they wouldn't be as dismissive and apathetic. Not apathetic. Dismissive. They wouldn't be dismissive. When you have a child, you take everything seriously. You don't just shrug it out under the rug. And that third story with that family, I hope that family finds peace. I really do. Because that is absolutely terrifying. Yeah, and the fourth story was very scary too. I forget what the first story was about. What was the first story about? For some reason I forget the first story. I always forget the first story. Oh, the guy at the door singing the Christmas. Yeah, I think I've ranked them in a good area. That was scary too. That was absolutely scary too. That wasn't as scary as the other 3 stories. Yeah, if I hear someone singing at my front door, I'd call someone. I'd call a friend. I'd call someone. I don't know who I'd call, but I'd call someone. I wouldn't be in this situation, you know. But yeah, yeah, that was my reaction, to Mr. Nightmare. I hope everyone has a jolly, holly, matrimony, jolly, holly Christmas. I just said jolly, holly twice. But I hope everyone has a merry, happy Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. You know, this year has been very challenging. It's probably been challenging for all of us, you know. We still got a while away. So, yeah. So, Merry Christmas to you all. Anyway, please subscribe, turn notification, and click the bell beside you. I love you guys so much. Anyway, Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year. Bye.